everyone. I am back finishing up the what sold video that we started the other day. I don't know that I'll always divide up the what sold like this. I have had this idea for a while to kind of separate the vintage and the non-vintage. Not sure if I'll keep doing that. It'll probably depend on the week and how much actually gets sold. Also, I had an idea to maybe divide it up between hard goods and clothing. So anyway, if you have any thoughts on the whole thing, or if you just like one big long video with everything, that's fine too. Like I said, that might happen sometimes still. So anyway, we'll go back. We're still talking about July 1st through the 8th. So that first week of July. And here we're going to start with the eBay again. And this is a dress I picked up this year at a yard sale, and I paid $5. And I went ahead and I grabbed this dress because it was Polly Flinders. And I will show you the tag. I have a very bad picture of the tag, as you can see with my big old hand in there. But it's Polly Flinders. It says hand smocked. So these vintage, it's a size 10. I think, I did okay with my price. I got $30 for this dress. Sometimes the smaller, this is kind of getting into little girl. Sometimes the toddler size dresses and these little cute vintage ones might do a little bit better. Anyway, this dress had smocking, like it said, and that is definitely a selling point, something that you want to include in your listing. Is that sewing technique. Okay, it's got a cute little Peter Pan collar, and I just thought it was a super cute color, so I was totally okay with paying $5 for that, and like I said, it sold for $30. Next vintage item is an example of something not to sell, not to pick up. This is an Old Spice shaving mug, and there are some exceptions. Some Old Spice shaving mugs can actually sell pretty well. This one was just super common, and it didn't even sell for $15. My husband got an offer for $8, and he didn't care. And I'm pretty sure I was the one who picked this up. We had done pretty well with an Old Spice mug before, and I knew there were certain things that could make one more valuable than another. And so if I see them cheap enough, I usually just grab them and research later. So this ended up in my husband's pile of things to list. And he said he went ahead, he took all the pictures, and then he looked it up. And he was like, oh my goodness. He says, there's so many listed, and they're selling for like $10 or something. So, there's an exception here and there. What I did do is I did research as I was making this video, what to actually kind of look for. So like I said, this one was fairly common. It's got the Grand Turk on one side, the ship, the Grand Turk. It's got the Recovery on the other. And anyway, so that one, like I said, is super common. But if they still have, even this one, if it still has the soap in it, I saw in solds that there were a few that were sold pretty well if they were like new in their original box and still had the soap. Also, if you just have like a common one and it has a brush, like the shaving brush to go with it, that seemed to help sell it a little bit more. There was also a version by Hull Pottery that had really good selling prices as well. So those are kind of a few things that I noticed to kind of look out for. But otherwise, let me show you. I'll pop up a picture here of the one we sold. And as you can see, it's like a navy blue or black. It was very different. It stood out as different. And we sold ours for $40. And so I would just say kind of, if you see these, if there's something different or special about them, just kind of go ahead and look it up. This is, it's made out of like a custard glass type thing. So just keep an eye out for something that looks more like pottery. Next one, I love to sell new old stock anything, but new old stock clothing is a lot of fun. Men's clothing. This was from JCPenney. I came across at the thrift. Somebody must have cleaned out an old closet or something, and there was quite a few dress shirts that were still, some were in their package. A couple were hanging up, but they still had the folds from being folded in a package like this. They were short sleeve. They were kind of a smaller size. So that kind of worked against it a little bit. But I just loved I thought the window pane was really cool. It's got the big, sharp, pointy collars, the dagger collars, and it just had never been worn. So all the information you need to know about it is right on there. What it's made out of, all that kind of stuff. So easy peasy, $30 is what it sold for. Next one is a postcard. Now I have dabbled in postcards, and I am fascinated by postcards. There are bazillions of postcards that are not worth a lot, and so you'll find different postcard sellers, like the really big postcard sellers will sell a bunch of their postcards at lower prices, and maybe they'll get a volume. They do a lot of volume. They do a lot of, maybe a person buys more than one. And but then there's, every once in a while, there's a postcard that's worth a lot of money. I know a lot of vintage holiday postcards can be worth a lot. But anyway, I know, just like tip of the iceberg, I've watched other YouTubers about postcards, and it's just, to me, it's fascinating. And yes, I do have a postcard death pile because it's just one of those things that's kind of like with my patterns or jewelry or things like that I end up getting, like, you kind of can get a lot of them at once, and then you're kind of digging through the big lot for the hidden gems. And I just kind of got into that for a little while. So I have a small bin of postcards, and I have to do something with it eventually, but I did pick this one up at a yard sale or an estate sale. I think it was last summer, and I finally just listed it a couple months ago. But I picked it up because it was connected to a railway company. It was a boat, right? So just something that I thought was interesting. And it has Mount Fuji in the background. So there was some condition issues on this one. I had it listed. I was able to find, I think, a comp or two. But as you can see in my title, I have RPPC, and that's Real Photo Postcard. So that's something that collectors also look for. It's a photograph that's turned into a postcard. I'll show you the back of it. There's so much to know about postcards, and like with whether they have the line on the back that divides. This one has some writing in Japanese, so probably purchased over there in Japan. Anyway, thought it was pretty cool, and I listed it for $14.99. It actually sold for $12.74, which I think was when my 40% offer coupon was going. And so I still thought, I don't remember what I paid for the postcards. I think I got a few different ones that day at the estate sale, just like just a couple, and maybe paid $1 for all of them. If you'll notice my shipping, 63 cents. You might be wondering what that's all about. eBay does have what's called the eBay standard envelope, and it's specifically for trading cards, postcards, stamps, and coins. Now it said, the way they listed it, and it said coins under $20. So I don't know if like the value of everything in that list had to be under $20 or just the coins. I wasn't clear on that. But anyway, it just prints I use my regular label printer, and it prints a 4x6 label. It does have a form of tracking to it, even though it only costs like 63 cents. And I have a little like stay flat cardboard envelopes, that are still kind of flexible. And I have some plastic sleeves that fit postcards as well. Like I said, I thought I was going to get more into postcards at one point. And so I kind of stocked up on some of the supplies to do that. And I should say I did sell some postcards back when I was doing that, but nothing to write home about. Anyway, so yeah, now that postcards are included in that eBay standard envelope, it's a nice option for shipping. A postcard buyer could spend $5 on a postcard, not have to spend $4 on shipping, right? Anyway, just thought you might find that interesting. Next thing, we'll go over to my husband's Etsy shop. We had this little tiny teapot. It really is small. It's not a full size. It's more like an individual, but it's that enamelware that, I've been selling those little Turkish, butter warmer, Turkish coffee type things. And this is a little bit chippy. It's just been sitting around my house forever. I don't know. I picked it up so long ago. And when all that other enamel, those Turkish coffee pots were selling so well, my husband found it and threw it in his shop. So $20 out the door. And his other sale was this Farside mug, $22 for this one. I remember finding this right after I did my coffee mug video, or one of my coffee mug videos that ended up being fairly popular. And I think a lot of you who watch me now maybe found me through those videos. So I'm glad I did them. Anyway, Farside is usually a good no-brainer mug pickup if you happen to see it while you're out thrifting. Couple pattern sales. This one, let me go down a little bit. This one, I love selling men's patterns. So this one was $15. It was uncut, but just a bunch of different men's shirts from the 80s. And $15, easy peasy. And the next one was also had some men's, but it was like unisex. So men's shorts or women's shorts and shirts and things like that. And that one sold for $10, and that was very 90s looking. Let's go over to Ruby Lane. Now, I actually had quite a few Ruby Lane sales, and I do attribute that to a couple things. The increased listing I did during my listing challenge. And speaking of listing challenges, I do want to do one for July, so I'm kind of putting that together in my head. So if you want to join in, just keep it in mind. I will have a video coming out probably next week, just kind of outlining what I want to do for the challenge for me this time. And you can let me know if you want to join in or if that would help you as well. Anyway, so I sold another coffee mug. So this one I thought was super, super cool. Oh, so the increased listing on Ruby Lane, also the fact that I did run a little bit of a sale for a couple days on there just to kind of see what would happen. I think this is one of them because $13 is kind of an odd price that I would list something at, but anyway. So this was a souvenir mug, actually. So Flintstones has the Flintstones right there on them, but it's Bedrock City, which I believe was an amusement park, which was in British Columbia, Canada. It's now closed. It's a theme park, Bedrock City, popular in the 70s through the 90s. And it was connected to the Flintstones. So fun stuff, but somebody had to have that for $13. Now this is one of the items I sold during the I listed and sold during the listing challenge. This is super cute. I got it at an estate sale last year. It's a baby sweater. It did have a tag on it that said it was made in Japan. It had a brand. Let me see if I can get up closer. To me, it looked kind of handmade, but then I saw the tag. It said handmade in Japan, so it was handmade, just not by someone's grandma. And it was a glow knit creation, 100% wool. So I thought that was super cute. It didn't last long, and it sold. I paid a couple bucks. It sold for $20. And again, let me get a better picture of these. Sometimes when something white, when Ruby Lane removes the background, it kind of makes it hard to look at. But I found these at a thrift store here in Montana, and there was just a little baggie of them for a couple bucks, I think it was. And they're just these little tiny dolls in pink and blue. Their eyes open and close, and I'm not quite sure what they'd be for, but I'm thinking they. And then what was interesting was a few of them had stickers on the back that said "Made in Italy." So I don't know if it's made in Italy, it's good enough for me, right? And so I picked those up, and I thought, you know what, maybe they're good for favors for a baby shower. I don't know, just decor kind of thing. I thought they were cute. So anyway, $17. I can't remember if they sold as part of the sale or not, because 17 does seem kind of a weird price to me as well. I think I had them at 20, so that probably makes sense. So 17, that's totally fine with me. I'm glad somebody can use them. This was probably my best vintage sale and the most interesting. I've said before how I love restaurant wear. Okay. I just love what it's made out of and how chunky and like hardcore it is. So this was made by Mayer China. Let's go through the pictures. It's a mustard pot. So it has the spoon built right into the lid. That just like sold me right away when I found it. And it was in pretty good condition. I think it had a few little flea bite type things at the end of the spoon. Lots of signs of age and dinging and whatever. But when you can see the bottom, it says Mayer China, and it was made for Horn and Hardart Company. So, and the pattern was called Nassau. So Horn and Hardart, if you remember or have seen before, was an automat, like restaurant type thing. I'll try to find some pictures and put up some pictures here. But anyway, having it marked that it was specifically for Horn and Hardart made it, a lot more desirable. And so I sold it for $74, and where I found this was back in the fall when I drove across country to North Carolina. And on our way back, we hit more thrifts on the way back than on the way there, I think. We were just trying to get there. But we ended up at a thrift store, and I think I remember the store. It was in like Independence, Missouri, I believe. And it might have been, is there a store there called Value World? Or that area? It might not have been in Independence. I know we spent the night in Independence, but anyway, somewhere around that area, Thrift World, something like that. I had pictures. Maybe if I can find the pictures, I'll pop one up here. I think that was the store. It reminded me a lot of a Savers or a Value Village, but it had, a shelf, a bunch of just vintage and collectibles, and I was having so much fun. Anyway, I saw this, and I saw this spoon built in, and I was like, oh, I've got to have it. So I think I paid about $6 for it. But anyway, $74, totally happy with that. And then another mug. I don't know, I must be getting out of summer and into fall, because not that you could tell with the weather, but this one went to Canada, actually, and he messaged first and asked, I think I just had calculated shipping for Canada on there, and it calculates it, at whatever, 20-something dollars, and he wanted to pay he just wanted to pay $40 even for everything. So I just switched his shipping to $20 flat rate and $20 for the mug, and it was just easier to work that out that way. And then I used Pirate Ship, and it was actually a little bit less than $20 to ship it, but I went ahead and kept it. But that's my, that's sometimes a little bonus you get from shipping. Anyway, so this is like a no-spill travel mug. The wide bottom, I think we talked about this on some of the mugs I found in my thrifting trips lately. And it's a style I like to find. This did take a little while. Stuff on Ruby Lane can take a little bit longer than other sites. But I really thought that, this no-spill style does pretty well. And more restaurant wear. So this is Syracuse China. This is one of the more popular patterns, I think. It's very mid-century. I think the pattern, I don't know. I think I'm thinking of something else. But anyway, the pattern is called Driftwood. It's got this very atomic stylized fish along with driftwood. And this was just a little individual creamer, and I listed that for $15, and then the buyer bought that and this little bowl for $10. So I was looking at comps. I think, prices might have been a little bit higher, but it also in the past, but it also probably depends on the piece. This was just a little tiny bowl and that little tiny creamer. I checked comps, on eBay and WorthPoint, and this is about where we're at, but she bought them together and spent $25. So anyway, okay, so those were the vintage finds and sales for the week, that first week in July. And I will be back again next Tuesday with another What Sold video. And this week's been kind of slow because I have been under the weather and not listing as much as I would like to. And so I have a feeling next week's What Sold is just going to be one video with everything together, and hopefully I can scrape together a few more sales before the week is over. Anyway, hope you guys are having a good summer, and as usual, go ahead, leave me a comment below as far as anything you've sold that you thought was interesting, and how's the summer slowdown going for you. I will see you next week, or possibly might have something for you before the What Sold video, but no promises. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.